God will take you back. He's got your back, so stay on track. It's not a race or a place to see who's better or who's greater. We equally made from the hand that's great. God forgive us for having uneven yoke, uneven yoke, uneven yoke, uneven yoke. Uneven yoke, lukewarm high, uneven yoke, ice cold, uneven yoke, high, low, uneven yoke, worldly shame, uneven yoke, uneven yoke, uneven yoke.
We were raised to go to school, be brainwashed, keep it cool, love no one, but still make love, no ring though, we love the, I love the buddy, I love the world, but I never ever have time for a girl, live the life, do pain and strife, I love to have the children, but don't want the wife, forget the church, put in the work, live up berserk, happy to forget the ignorant church, forget that, I confess he's omnipotent, he's omniscient, he's magnificent, always relevant, and I know he's at me, can change the changeability, so let's get together, and let's change it big.
Uneven yoke, unbalanced, unbalanced, uneven yoke, unbalanced, unbalanced, uneven yoke, unbalanced, unbalanced, uneven yoke, lukewarm hot, uneven yoke, ice cold, uneven yoke, high, low, uneven yoke, worldly shame.
All right, what's up, everybody? Thanks for being on all the different platforms. We appreciate your presence today. Thank you for being on with us. We are excited. Thank you for those who were able to make it last night for day one of our 7 last words. We're excited today. The Honorable Maya is going to come with the word for us today on that. Thanks for being on. To everybody on all the platforms, Rest Belt, thank you so much. Rhonda, shalom to you. Shalom to everybody who's with us today. Shabbat shalom. Minister Tamara, Butterfly Effect, Tamika, Bradley, Tracy. Having issues scrolling up. Sister Beverly, and thank you for the gift. And thank you for all your gifts, super chats, comments, questions, concerns. Trina, Shabbat Shalom. Sorry, I think I missed you over there on YouTube. Sister Benita, hopefully you're safe in your travels. Sister Ostrom, Jops Day, Shalom. Sister Betty. To all the moderators, everybody, we thank you. As always, we give all praise and honor to the Most High. Alahim. Sudan in the house. Okay, what's up? Sudan. How are you doing? It said, am I a Hebrew Israelite according to the Bible? I am Avda, which is Hebrew. I'm Yashua, which is Israel. And so, you can't be one without, if you're an Israelite, you're a Hebrew. So, yes, I would be so. According to even the family bloodline, taking me back to Shwi or West Africa. If you know about Negro land, the map, all that great stuff. So yes, I would meet that criteria. And we believe those things. I'm not a Christian, but I do follow the word of the Most High. So I'm on. And once again, Shabbat Shalom to everybody. We're going through these gifts. We've been talking about gifts on here. We're appreciative of you. Thank you again. Once again, we give all praise to the Most High. We give all praise to the Most High for my wife, the Honorable Maya. Check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. And we're thankful and grateful for everything that she does for the community with their business. Her business is the business of healing. How you doing, Jay? Back up in here. Hello. And you said it was a great ancestry site. I don't really know. There's some place. Oh, wow. Somebody had asked me, forgive me. I just realized one of you guys had asked me a while ago you had texted me, asked you to send you some stuff as far as a site to go for Ancestry or app to use for Ancestry. I said I was going to ask my wife about it and get back to you, and I don't believe I ever did. It just came to my remembrance, so forgive me. Charge it to my head and not to my heart, whoever you are. If you can remember, send it to me. I promise you I will make sure I get you that information today. So yeah, but I didn't use Ancestry because I know where I come from. I know where my people come from, and I actually can trace our lineage. However, an Ancestry is a little dangerous because it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to tell you exactly where your people come from the way it's set up. But there's some different things that I think you can use to get a better uh, thought process on how all that's going together. Hello, Lil Pop. His Lil Pop Tart Jr. Okay, hello, interesting name. How you doing? So we're gonna talk about wisdom today and the gifts. We've talked about so many different things already. We talked about interpretation in tongues. We've talked about teaching yesterday. I'm losing a couple of them. We've gone through a few of the gifts, and today what I want to talk about is the gift of and thank you for the compliment, Raven. Hello, Andre, how you doing? I want to talk about the gift of today, the gift of wisdom, and we already went through this. Hello, F family, how you doing? We were already going through wisdom. If you look on the YouTube channel, hashtag find Kofi, hashtag FINDKOFI. If you look on there, we have a whole 12 principles, or I'm sorry, 12 pillars of wisdom. And we went through all 12. So we'll be doing kind of a shortened version of it. So we've got hours, probably no less than 25 hours or so of material just on wisdom, 12 pillars of wisdom. So this will be a review for many of us. However, we do have some things that we just want to bring back up. It is part of the gifts, and we would not be holy or whole or complete if we talked about these gifts and then talk about wisdom. To Marshawn, Malcolm, Betty, Isabel, and Solomon, Daddy loves you very much. To the moderators, to the ministerial staff, to the soon-to-be minister select, to Minister Select Sonia, to those that are in training, to those who are part of SOC, to those that agree with everything we say, disagree with everything we say, somewhere in the middle, those who are trolls, even whatever, we welcome you. Feel free to ask whatever questions, comments, or concerns that you guys might have. Sister Beverly, thank you again for the gift, if I didn't say so already. All we ask is that you keep it respectful on here. Right. Do whatever, say whatever, ask whatever, try the spirit by the spirit. We just ask that you be respectful and please take it for what we say, right? No matter who's talking in the comment section, please give credence to your rebuttal if you're going to give one or whatever it is by making sure that you actually are rebutting what somebody said. All right. Hello, Sister Shema, Sister Naya. So we're going to talk about wisdom, and wisdom is crucial because wisdom is the principal thing. Right, Minister Anais actually has gave us a lot on wisdom. I believe it was on TikTok the last time. And go follow her at Anais Faith Jones, ANAIS Faith Jones. She has a lot of great stuff that she's doing for the community, and with her branding and with her what the Most High is leading her to do. So feel free to check her out there. And we're appreciative of her, everything she does, from the prayer line service to everything. Don't forget to we do early rise of Bible study session every Monday. If you want to join us for that, that's on Zoom only. We have started recording them, so we have the last couple. If you want to kind of catch up on some of the things we've been talking about, and we've been having a great time with that. So thank you so much, and thank you to everybody for being on. So wisdom is crucial. Right, wisdom is crucial to what we're doing. And when we talked about the 12 pillars of wisdom, we talked about wisdom is literally a domain that wise things go inside of. How you doing, Mr. Energy One? So when we talked about wisdom, we talked about wisdom is a domain in which wise things go inside of. Oh wow. Minister Nice, if you can, there's somebody on here. I don't know what the name of the individual is off the top of my head. Name of Mr. Energy One. Mr. Energy One. And he just put in there that he'd like to have prayer for a daughter in the hospital with cancer and lupus, and we definitely can try and make sure that we add that to the prayer list. And And also, too, we can say a quick prayer right now. Heavenly Father, we thank you for being with us today. We thank you for all the things that you're doing to govern us. We thank you for us being here. We thank you for the word. We thank you for the season of Passover. We thank you for this new year. We do know that in New Year's we have new struggles. And as we ask for forgiveness and try to forgive others, as we ask for your daily bread, we ask specifically for prayer for the daughter of Mr. Energy One. Uh, we ask that you allow whatever it is, if it's the doctors that he's going through or natural medicine to take place. We pray that we can, if we're whatever we have at our disposal, if it can be used to be able to bless their family. We ask that new eating habits be introduced. We know that you are in control ultimately. However, we know that there has to be agreement with it. So we agree with you. We agree with Mr. Energy One, even that your will be done in this situation, that healing will take place, and that it will take place in a manner in which only you would be able to get the glory out of it. Thank you for the heart of Mr. Energy One to ask for prayer and allow us to be able to pray and lay this before you at your throne. It's in the mighty and matchless name of Yahweh Elohim that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect to that prayer and ultimately your child. Amen. Amen. Thanks for being on with us. This is all for you. Appreciate you. Amen. It's interesting. Close my eyes for prayer. It's for Tiffany Ray. Okay, Tiffany Ray. Tiffany Ray is the name of the daughter. It's interesting. I went into prayer. We lost all our people on TikTok. So it shows today that we don't have stuff. All right, little Pop Tart Jr. I don't know what they said, but it looks like somebody got to him. They must have said something off. Well, we appreciate the moderators. Thank you so much. So yeah, so we want to talk about wisdom. Wisdom is a domain in which wise things go inside of. And it's our pleasure. And wisdom is a domain in which wise things go inside of. And so we talked about 12 pillars of wisdom. I'm not sure if I can do this off memory, but let's give it a shot. The first pillar of wisdom we talked about was you got to be systematic and systemic, which means you have to put things in person, put things together on purpose and put a system together to live by that causes wisdom and allows wisdom to flourish. And you have to put it in place to where it flows no matter what. How you doing, Benjamin? Right after that, then we talked about I don't know if I'm be able to do this. I don't remember what the second one was. Yeah, I can't remember. We had systematic and systemic. Number 3 was what you got to be a game changer. Oh, number 2 was you have to be knowledgeable. That means to be intimate. Number 3 is you have to be a game changer. Number 4 is that you must have vision, purpose, and value. No, I'm skipping something. Oh, number 4 is redemption. How do you deem something? And to redeem, it really means to be reconsidered, right? So your consideration is important in wisdom. Number 5, we talked about vision, purpose, and value. What do you see afar off? How do you live every day to get there? And what do you value? What is the need for you to be able to do it, even when others might not agree with it, right? Number 6 was etymology, which is not eteos, which means to just study what the word means, basically, but etymos, which is talking about where it's coming out of culturally. Number 7, we talked about eschatology, which is not just the study of the end times, but it's the study of what will last. Here's where it's going to get fishy for me. Number 8, I don't remember what exactly number 8 was. I know somewhere in there we talked about love. Somewhere in there we talked about law. There's a couple of them I'm forgetting, but once again, we have it on YouTube where you can go just look up our playlist. Once again, the YouTube channel, hashtag find Kofi, hashtag FIND KOFI. Shabbat Shalom to everybody coming on. How you doing, Alan? True Origin. So today we're talking about wisdom, a place, a domain in which wise things go inside of. And even if you want to talk about a wise thing, wisdom, something wise calling you to dominate, or something wise calling you to have dominion. Dominion in Hebrew is talking about tarach, right? Behind no, we follow the principles of the Lord, and if that's the best that you can do without even saying hello, then you just need to, I guess, find a place to sit down somewhere. Appreciate you. Thank you for being on. So we did all these things. By the way, the person was saying I'm from the Lord of the Rings or something. It's like, Lord of the Rings, you got to put a black person in Lord of the Rings before you can even do that. Right? I guess unless you're making me a tree or something like that. Racism at its finest. So, how you doing, Sister Helen? How you doing, Sister Deborah? So we're speaking on wisdom today. right? And wisdom is a place that you dominate from a wise place. So the domain has to be right. Once again, here we go back to the culture. What is the domain? What is the situation that you live in? What is how is it that you honor things? What does your community look like? Yeah, coming from somebody who had no profile pic. Yeah, it's usually, well, I'll leave it there because I could be on that for a little bit. But wisdom coming from a place in which you dominate, right? Dominate, dominion, wisdom, wise place. We we have to recognize that you can be wise all day. You can do wise things all day, but if it's in a bad environment, as we talked about before, Shabbat Shalom, Minister Slexonia, um, if you're in a place that you don't that is not conducive to what is wise, you will fall, right? Traveling, okay, be safe out there on the roads. I know you're gonna be traveling again to meet up with us, so be safe. We want to see you when you travel again. Um, so a lot of people are out here having a lot of different things that are happening, um, and are in a lot of different positions because you're trying to execute wisdom. You're trying to execute something wise, but the domain that you're in cannot hold it, right? And wisdom has to start there. And it can't be your wisdom, which means that it can't be a domain that is going to the things that you try to do. And a lot of times we try to set up the same stuff we've been doing, the same way we've been living, the same way we've been speaking, the same books we've been reading, but then we want to try and put what is wise in it. We don't want to change the environment, you know. Like people be on there, yeah, I went to school for this, that, or whatever. And so this is what the Lord's saying with this now. Now that I've been converted, the Lord's telling me this, the Lord's telling me that, the Lord's telling me this, right? But you're still bringing somebody else's wisdom, so to speak. How you doing, Sister Sharice? How you doing, Cole? Right? You're trying to bring in something that predated Yahweh's wisdom. And I don't mean predated because Yahweh's wisdom obviously is eternal. What I'm saying though is you're trying before you were in his wisdom to bring the same mindset. You met the Most High, so to speak. Shabbat Shalom, Miss Modesty. You met the Most High. You've begun to change your life. You've begun to do things differently. And now all of a sudden, I'm going to try and bring something else into it. Right? This is what happens in a lot of different churches, different places, things like that. Um, I was going to church my whole life. I'm done with church, but I'm getting more into the word than I ever have, but I'm still going to bring church principles, right? How about this? Maybe this makes it a little easier for some. I have been an American in mindset my entire life, right? This modern American, not the original American. I've been a modern American the entirety of my life. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to come in to the kingdom, but try to bring Democratic Republican values, or Democratic Republic values, or Republican oligarchy values, right? And I'm going to try and make it fit what the Most High says when we are not a democratic republic. You know, got you with the church example, amen. Right? I have been somebody who has been saying that the reason why we can't get any better is because we kill ourselves or whatever, and it's all on it's all our fault, and nobody can do this. And now somebody gives me some information, and I'm still trying to navigate. I realize that what I might be saying is wrong, but I'm still using statistics from somewhere else to prove what it is. Right? You said communism is ultimately evil. I mean, okay, evil is happening to that. See, once again, like even in that, right? Like we're talking about wisdom and Yah's wisdom, right? Or capitalism. Yeah, okay, I got you. Capitalism, right? And what is capitalism? Capitalism is defined as a system in which politics and economics are used to control trade and industry. That trade and industry is wielded by private corporations rather than the state, which means that the government doesn't even rule you. The government is a false government. The government, of course, is a corporation in and of itself, right? So it's we're doing so many different things by something that's not even real, right? We're being governed by things that are not even real. Think about that. Thanks for being part of the community, Cotton. Right, we're dealing with stuff to where it's not Yah's wisdom. Once again, we have a whole series on YouTube called 12 Pillars of Wisdom. It's got to be at least 25 hours or so of stuff on there, of knowledge on there. So feel free to go on there and look that up. Right, we're just kind of doing a recap because we're talking about the gifts and this series that we're in the midst of right now. Right, and I don't know if the person if he can hear me or whatever, but be focused out there on the road. Take care, Mama, out there. I'm so, but this is, we're not thinking about we're not really thinking about the fact that we're bringing in something else and trying to call it wisdom. No, that's not what I said, River Goat. You got to listen correctly. I said that the United States corporation, the United States is a corporation. The United States of America is something different, right? And what I said is, if you wanted to look at the definition of capitalism, which capitalism is a real system, capitalism is defined as a system in which politics and economics are used to control trade and industry. That trade and industry is wielded by private corporations rather than the state, which means that the state has to go through the corporation. The corporation, it's lawful, it's legal that if Congress is going to come together to put together a bill, they have to bring in a whole bunch of other corporations or people that represent corporations before they can create said bill, create said law, try to get people to buy into possibly adding an amendment, whatever it is, right? The corporation is in control. Right. And so when you're talking about your governor works for the corporation. You said there is no false government. Government means control. Mint means mind. Government, mind, control mind. So even in that, then, so the government's real in that sense. The government's real. Well, anyways, I don't know. People are trying to tell me, yes, I get it. That people, what I'm saying is that the government that tells you that they are an actual country is not telling the truth. If we know that a state is a country. Sharing a castle, come on, man. Be creative. Be creative. That all you got? Be creative. But nevertheless, right? So what I'm telling somebody so what we're saying is that if they're telling you that you're in a country, but you're in the United States, okay, and the United States is not even a country, but it is a what? It is a corporation. There's a difference between the two. Just like your birth certificate is that birth. When you go to court, for example, right? This is wisdom. You're trying to bring somebody else's wisdom into what we're speaking on, correct? So we're talking about wisdom. Wisdom says what? Wisdom is somebody else's. So you're going by what you think is wise from their domain. And in their domain, when you go to court, you think it's you go to court. You don't go to court, right? You're not on trial. When you go to trial, like if you show up in court, you're not on trial. Your birth certificate is on trial because your birth certificate is a straw man. That's legal. That's factual. If you were to go to trial and they were to say, and I can't remember the name of the person, so I'll just make up an arbitrary name. Let's say Mike is on trial, and they would say, okay, Mike Smith, are you thus and such? Are you Mike Smith? You could literally answer them. I am not Mike Smith. I am here to represent Mike Smith and make sure that my sovereignty is not on the line or is not going to be mismanaged, or that the public is not going to come into the private concerning this court case, right? You could literally legit say that because that's what that's what is actually going on. You are not on trial. Your birth certificate is on trial. Period. Right. So that's an example of somebody trying to bring in somebody else's wisdom into a place that it doesn't belong. Right. If you're going to go to court, we don't even have the right thing. We're going into a domain and don't think about it. Yeah, declared dead by the time maritime law, you can mix that in with, maritime law mixing in. That's why we speak on law. And that's why one of the things we talked about with wisdom was law, right? Law protects your rights. Even the government, the place that you're talking about that governs you, right? Even they say that you have what? Unalienable rights. A right is something that you have that cannot be taken from you. So how many people using stuff that they think is wisdom, but really is foolishness, have thought that you need to fight for equal rights? or you need to fight for the rights of black people, or you need to fight for people of color and their rights. When the reality is that the law protects our rights, right? And if you comprehend how kingdom law, marital law, universal law of attraction, law of first mention, natural law, common law of equity, right? All and all these different things, maritime law we talked about, admiralty law. If you speak on these things, you hear what I'm saying? Thank you for sharing the live coop. If you speak on these things correctly from the lawful perspective, then you will be able to protect your rights. But people are on here talking about things and not recognizing even how this works. You said it's too much for them to comprehend, right? So even and gorgeous, by the way, it was stolen. Well, first of all, we comprehend. We talk about that plenty of times on here. The original American is not even, the original American is still in Black's Law Dictionary, which is what they use in court, and you can still look it up for yourself. What is the definition of an original American? An original American is what is a copper-colored person indigenous to America or to the Americas. That's an original American. Right. So we're talking about wisdom, but once again, it's a domain. And if you're in a domain where you've been taught things against yourself, if you're in a domain where you don't even have knowledge of self, how in the world do you begin to talk about what is wise? And by the way, if you're in a place that you don't know what is wise, wisdom begins to sound like foolishness to you. Billy Roy, you said that's how we got Joe Biden and $9 of gas. Well, no president has ever been your friend. So I'm not worried about Biden, Trump, Obama, Bush, Clinton, Bush, Reagan, Carter. You know, go back as far as you want. None of them have your best interest at heart, because their first goal is to do what? What is it that they swear in? When they swear in, when the president swears in, when the governor swears in, when I used to be in the military, when you swear into the military, whatever the case might be, when you swear in, right? Help me out. When you swear in, hopefully somebody on here would know, right? What is it that you are swearing in? What do you say that you would do when you swear in? You promise to do what? Right? We're not thinking domain, right? So protect the Constitution. I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States. That's the corporation. I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States, not of the United States of America. I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. If somebody lives here and they ain't doing what the corporation of the United States says, we come against you. If we go somewhere else and they're against us making money, we will come against it. Everything that you're dealing with in a court case is dealing with commerce, right? That's why when you get something, if you do something that's legal, what do they say? You got to pay the price, right? Pay your debt to society. To go to prison is considered to be a benefit and a privilege. It's all commerce. So why is it a benefit and a benefit, right? Why is it a privilege to be able to go to prison? Why would you say that? It's a privilege to go to prison because they feed you, they clothe you, they do all that stuff. And so when you come out, now they can tax you. The only thing taxable are benefits and privileges. Matter of fact, that's why they don't tell you that you could easily become a non-citizen national. That's why we teach sovereignty to help out. And I know sovereignty, people taking sovereignty class, we got to make sure we get you those last few recordings, right? But they do those things on purpose. But if you're in a domain, if you've been raised in a domain that says that you don't even know what I'm talking about, then what I'm saying that's wise to you, according to their law, they would say that if I were to show up in court and talk like I'm talking now, if I were to speak to a lawyer, if I were to speak to a judge and speak the way that I'm speaking now, right, which by the way, I've spoken to people who work in law, and they would say, yeah, what you're saying is wise. That's correct. But people would sit here and say, no, you're wrong. You're this and that. People would try to dismiss you. People try, because it's the domain, right? It's the domain, right? Like, but you hear all these things. It's all going to be things that have to do with commerce, right? It's about debt, slavery, debt, right? And we're trying to speak on things. So those who have the gift of wisdom, you're trying to speak to a generation of people. You're trying to speak to people that are in a big place. Thank you, truck styling. You're trying to speak to people who aren't even worried about ensuring that they're doing things properly within the domain of freedom. A lot of people aren't even in a domain that causes freedom. So would I agree that authenticating a birth certificate, you can do it that way, or you could just simply do a DS-11 and make sure that you change how your passport is there. That updates it automatically in the system. Wisdom is a gift that can be honed, and there are some people that focus more on wisdom, causing, because once again, what is wisdom? Wisdom is a domain. So some people are have a inherent. Some people have a gift that's been bestowed upon them to where they can create domains or environments in which things that are wise can go inside of. You said if you're not that percent, you have no law. You just living. Well, the reason, well, that's, you could say that, but there's a lot of people who don't make as much anywhere close to them, and they don't live lives that you and I live. I'm getting better every day. I don't live the life that most people live. I don't worry about grocery stores and because sovereignty is more than just a birth certificate. It's a domain, and people don't want to talk about that. Thank you for being part of the community in Harlem vibing, right? Sovereignty is not just a birth certificate. Get it authenticated. Sovereignty is not just, okay, when I go to court, I can argue with people. Sovereignty is not just, I can say, look, I'm different than you. Sovereignty is a place to where you're in the private. And a lot of people don't live their life in private. They live their life in public. We're supposed to be a peculiar people, but we're trying to make sure that we are with somebody else. We're supposed to be a holy nation, but we're trying to figure out how to be American. Right? Right? You see what I'm saying? Like, sovereignty is a mindset. It's a state of being. It's a domain that is wise to be in. If you know that private and public don't mix, and you know that the word public always means government, right? That's why you got to be careful about public. But everything you want to get done, you think is supposed to be done in public. Let's march on public. Let's go march in public. Let's make sure that we have we have a speech in public. Let's make sure that we get put on television in public. Let's make sure that our people are represented in public. But you don't have anything in private. Private is what gets you to the place to where you are. When we talk about corporations, a person can be considered to be a corporation. If you become a private citizen, you're a corporation. I mean, you got a couple things to take care of, but you got to first become private. You have to have a lifestyle, because even if you get some paperwork that says that you're private, but then you keep trying to go through the public for everything, then what does that make you? Sure, I'll name one. I'm gonna go ahead, and then after that we'll have to block you. But how about this? You can edit Stone Cold. How about that? Didn't he just come back and beat up Kevin Owens? There you go. So private. Yeah, and people have been trained to be seen. And it's not even about being seen. You can be seen, but just be seen as private. We had this weird thing that we do where it's like we're trying our best to like make things different. Like, be seen as private. Be seen, and I don't mean private like you can't tell anybody anything, right? But be seen as private. Why is it that everything has to have the government on the shoulder? Right? Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6 and 7. Right? A child to us is born. Am I religious? Everybody's religious, because everybody does something repetitively that a legion of people do. That's what the word religious means. If you're talking about, do I believe in the Bible? Yes. Right. But when we're talking about this stuff, even in that, let's stop making the spiritual so mystical that it's not practical. Because you can't even, like, when you deal in law, right? I'm sorry. Let me hit up Isaiah 9. Well, I'll come back to Isaiah 9, 6, and 7, because I'm probably going to forget this. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Right. When you're talking about law, like being seen, a lot of people don't even recognize that when we're speaking on law, people don't even comprehend. Like, I'm talking about public and private law, but things can't become public and private law until what? First things first, public and private law, I got to take care of. Hold on. So public and private law, boom. But then before that comes out of something called substantive law. A lot of people don't even know what substantive law is. Substantive law is law that means something has to be of substance. So how can it be substantive law unless it comes out of something else called natural law? Right? And they're getting this stuff from biblical perspective. That's why when you go to a court and this person who calls himself a judge, they're not actually a judge, by the way, right? Because they work for the executive branch, unless they're in the Supreme Court. That's why so much stuff took place to be able to make sure that this person who just got in, I forget her name, forgive me, but the person that finally got sworn in or whatever, or finally got accepted or whatever, right? You have to comprehend how she's going to be an actual judge, because the only real judges are Supreme Court justices. So when you go in front of your judge, traffic court and stuff, you think that's a real judge. They're part of the executive branch. Judge Judy is not an actual judge. Judge Joe Brown, all these people you guys watch, they are not actual judges. They are part of the executive branch, but they wear those priestly robes. Thank you, Empress. Appreciate the love, right? They wear those priestly robes, though. Why do they wear the priestly robe? Because they're actually trying to say that in our corporation, we represent the priest. Now they'll tell you there's a separation of church and state, but they're wearing the priestly robe. But it's their being priest that makes them substantive. We think that we're right. A funeral robe you could say as well, right? I have some of them as a preacher, as a pastor, right? They wear the same thing that I wear. They have the same supposedly they have the same standard that I have. Supposedly they're supposed to have the same knowledge I have. Supposedly they're supposed to treat the people the way that I do, right? That's what a judge is supposed to be, right? But they come from substantive law, but substantive law is only substantial because it has to come from natural law. So you have to know how nature works, which is why till this day, if you wanted to try and own some type of food, you cannot go out and find food. Even if nobody knows it exists, you cannot find a plant and then say that you patent that plant, because you didn't create it. The Most High created it. You cannot go outside right now. I don't care if anybody's ever seen it before. Find a plant, say, I'm going to patent it. You know why you cannot? You cannot patent something that you did not create. So even though they will tell you separation of church and state, or belief in state, or belief in government, belief in country, that's not true, right? You cannot go against nature, and nature has to come from somebody. All these people that say they don't believe in the Most High, then you need to leave pretty much every country that's in existence now, because natural law is what creates substantive law. Am I saying we're under European law? There's a lot of stuff that came from Europe, but I'm telling you, we need to be more concerned with natural law than European law. There's Eurocentric thought, but when you get in a court case, Eurocentric thought does not supersede natural law. Yeah, I can see what you're saying as far as because death is an illusion, right? So the funeral is an illusion too, in a sense, right? But I get what you're saying, right? Right. Because the funeral is not even for the person that died anyways. It's more so to help you to cope. So I get you. I'm with you on that I'm with you on that period, I guess. But when we're talking about this, so I got to have natural law, but natural law comes from what? Natural law has to come from universal law. What does universe mean? See, this is wisdom. You're trying to bring somebody else's domain. This is when people say these things, they don't recognize what's going on. You're trying to bring something from someone else's domain that's not wise into a domain where only wise things fit in. Right? You're trying to do all these different things. If you're going to talk about law, right? Natural law comes from universal law. What does the word universe mean? Universe means that it's a verse, spoken sentence. Somebody has to speak. So somebody had to speak a sentence in order for there to be a universe. Therefore, in order for there to be universal law, you got to figure out who created the universe. This is what goes on in court. And if you don't believe so, why are you standing in front of a priest? And why are you swearing on a Bible or a Quran or whatever canon it is? You don't have to swear on the Bible anymore. Right? How you doing, Rescue? As a matter of fact, I don't think you ever had to swear on the Bible. But why do you think that they brought a Bible? They're swearing on it because there's no authority without it. At least in your system, whether you believe in the Bible or not, I'm here to tell you, you better learn about it, because they're swearing on the things that they're telling you you're separated from. But how am I separated from it when everything is around? Right? They're swearing on it. They're swearing on it because you've got to have kingdom law, right? Kingdom law, is something that marries the kingdom, and marries everybody who's around. Marital law into the Most High. You have to have universal law. Universal law is where the universe, right? Universe, whoever spoke this into existence has to be respected. Natural law to where the nature of things has to be protected in order for this to work, which is when you get substantive law. Now it has substance, which is where you get public and private law. There are some people that want to be public because they don't have self accountability and they want to live by somebody else's rule. And if you want to do so, hey, that they set up public law because they're like, you're not going to mess everything up that we built or that others have built because you can't do what you're supposed to do. But for those that want to go a little deeper and take care of themselves and not have to worry about certain things, then you can be in what's called private. It doesn't mean that you can't exist. It doesn't mean that you can't show up. It doesn't mean that you can't go shopping. It doesn't mean that you can't show up on government, on government land or whatever, even though there's really no such thing, but whatever, right? It doesn't mean that you cannot. What it means though is that you are private. You are outside of their system. You are a non-citizen national. It's right there on your, if you want to look up a DS11 form, right? On the first page after you get, I think it's past the first 4 pages that have everything written out. When you get to page 1 that you're supposed to fill out, there's a spot that says "Do not fill out." Read in that little section, and you will find that it says, "Are you're either a citizen of the United States," or it says "non-citizen national." It's telling you on the paperwork for your passport that you do not have to accept being part of this wicked system. They're telling you all over the place. It's small, right? But they get the information is there, and all they're using is biblical principles. It said accepting kingdom knowledge and law begets wisdom and the rest. Yeah, I need to take sovereignty because these are all your questions. Yeah, so that stuff is there. It's there for us to see. It's right there. It's not right. And thanks for being part of the community, Regina. Sorry I didn't catch you. And said the Most High says not to swear by anything, right? Well, contextually, right? Don't swear by anything. As far as don't swear by heaven, don't swear by earth. People be like, I swear to God, I swear on my grandmama's grave, I swear on my children's lives, I swear on this and that. And he's like, those things are not things that are acceptable to swear on, not because they're not important, but because it doesn't matter anyways, right? In that instance, it's really more so like let your yea mean yea and your nay mean nay, right? But that's private thinking. In public, you got to swear on all these different things. So in public, you got to swear on the birth certificate. You got to swear on the Bible. You got to swear on this. You got to swear on that. But that's a private thought. That's a public thought process. But we're not going by Yah's wisdom. We're going by the world's wisdom. Yeah, that's why if people swear and be lying, right? How you doing, Stella? Thanks for being with us today. So you've got to come into a realization and recognize that you're trying to get wisdom out of something that's not wise. There's no wisdom in a system that says that we will say that we will basically put we consider you to be stock and we have a bond on you. And we give it to you and say that every time you do something, you've got to present this birth certificate. And we switch the birth certificate to make sure that you're not even a real person. Well, Vindy, even if you don't have a passport, you still will want to make sure, you could still try to put in for one and fill out the form. And even if they don't give you one, they update you in the system. So it's worth it even to pay the money, even if you don't get the passport right now, because you're still going to be able to update yourself in the system. You said, did I find out about Melchizedek and the Most High? What is it that you want to tell me about Melchizedek and the Most High? Did I find out? That's an interesting question. Did I find out what is it that you would like that to be presented? Right, but we're not talking about everybody else's wisdom. We're talking about a wisdom that supersedes. I'm not trying to be jokeful with you, gorgeous. I'm just like, that's a very out there question, kind of like, oh, thank you, Vindy. It's kind of like not out there. I don't know how to say it. Very broad. There we go. It is a very broad question. How you doing, Lillian? Right. Thank you, Bree. No, I'm just saying, I don't know what you're saying. You said, did I find out? Did I find out what? There's a lot of different things that come with Melchizedek. Are we talking about the lineage that leads up to Christ? Are we talking about how they're considered to be one, even though they're not technically the same person, but they represent the same thing? Are we talking about how Abraham gave a tithe to Melchizedek, and that's what allowed Israel to be able to get their birthright? Are we talking about the fact that Melchizedek actually believed in Baal, but Baal actually meant the same thing as Elohim, and Baal to him was Yahweh? I mean, there's a lot of different ways we can go. I'm just saying it's a very broad topic. Um, so, but yeah, when we're talking about wisdom, right? Wisdom it's not the wisdom of the world. And everybody keeps trying to do this whole thing of making wisdom the world's wisdom. But you're supposed to be a peculiar people. Your wisdom's not gonna be the same. That's why culture is important. You're supposed to be a holy nation. Your nation don't work the same way their nation does. You're supposed to be a chosen generation. Your generation is not going to do the same thing the way that their generation does. Right? You're supposed to be a royal priesthood. And in our culture, it's the same word. There is no difference between royalty and a priest. If you're a priest, you're royal. If you're royal, you're a priest. Don't talk about being a queen and you're not a priest. Don't talk about being royalty and you're not a priest. Don't talk about being a child of the king and you're not a priest. Like in our culture, it's different. See, in their culture, it's a culture of here's another one, not Melchizedek, but here's another M name. They're about Machiavelli, right? I am Lillian. Thank you for asking. Right? They're talking about something Machiavellian. Who is Machiavelli? Machiavelli, right? There's a reason why Tupac chose that name on his album, right? Because Machiavelli taught in order to be a great leader, you had to be a bad person. In order to be a great person, you had to be a terrible leader. That the two couldn't be. And that's their wisdom. In our wisdom, you don't get qualified to be royalty, to lead an environment unless you are a great person. You're dealing with two different things. Wisdom is the principal thing. It is the origin of things. Right? But you're trying to deal with something that's not original. Right? Like you're trying to deal with the original, or at least we should be trying to deal in the original, right? But we keep looking at everybody and trying to figure out how can we keep changing it. How can we change the definition of this? Change the definition. Matter of fact, we shouldn't even have to define anything. It was fine the way it was, right? It was fine the way it was. When we defined it, when we broke away from what was fine, then we had an issue. It was already fine the way it was. We had to keep defining it and then redefining it to a place to where it's no longer wise. Right? It's no longer wise. It's no longer wise to be to have something that's fine. Right? It's no longer wise to have something that's fine the way it is and just keep it intact. How you doing, Sharon? Hello, Casey. How you doing? Blessings to you. Right? It's no longer fine to just keep things the way that the Most High said that they are. Everybody has to live a truth or their truth, but nobody has to be in tune with the truth. So what about tithing? What about it? Tithing is a tribute. Tithing is you giving 10% to something. I mean, you give more, is I would believe it's as far as wisdom is concerned, because that's where the focus is today. As far as wisdom is concerned, it would definitely be wise to tithe. Tithing is just 10%. People give 50, 60, 70% of their money to the government every day, every year. So, if you can find a way to become sovereign and not even have to worry about giving them that, and then you can make sure that you can also give a tribute to whatever organization or whatever you're led to do, whatever you tithe. We tithe all the time anyways. People tithe if you don't own your own spot or whatever, you tithe to the apartment complex. People don't have a problem tithing to the temporary. People tithe to beer. People tithe to a great time. People tithe to go to the club every night. Some people club hop. That's all they do. They can't wait till Friday, Saturday, Sunday if it's not every night. People tithe all the time. And tithing is not just money. Time, talent, effort, energy, prayer life. Yeah, resources too. Resources are time, talent, effort, energy too. So, I find nothing wrong with it, but it's usually something that, hey, how you doing, G Thornton? It's usually something that's hard for people to deal with and talk about because we're constantly and consistently, like we're always tithing. Like you should tithe study. How much time do you give to study? If we gave as much time to study as we do to watching TikTok dances, we'd be on some stuff. Once again, I'm focusing on wisdom today, right? But if you say, what about women preaching? Are women supposed to preach? It's wise for anybody who's called to preach, whether male or female, to preach. That's somebody else's domain. Wisdom, a domain in which wise things go inside of. You see nowhere in the Bible where it says a woman cannot preach. When people even do the whole usurp authority over a man thing, or make sure that they're covering their head and all that stuff, we misquote that stuff because we don't know the culture. Covering your head means to cover your head in prayer, so the man would be the head of the house, but you cover him in prayer. And now you're talking about your actual physical head. And as far as usurp authority over man, he was writing specifically to a congregation or an assembly who was having a huge problem because you had the people that were there, women, used to do everything they could to gossip and make fun of men, and relationships were falling apart because they were bringing that same mindset into people that were supposed to have a kingdom mindset. So they asked Paul about it, and Paul wrote a response. Right? It had nothing to do with no woman could preach. When Yashua talks to the woman at the well after they finish having their conversation, what does she do? She goes and preaches. When Yashua comes back, right, and he comes back in a new form and nobody recognizes him at first, and then the women realize that he's Yashua, what does he do? He says, or he tells them who they are, and they go and they preach the word. They're the ones that tell the disciples about him. What about Deborah? Right? They wouldn't even go to battle unless Deborah, a judge, she went out there and she fought with them. Right? The list goes on and on and on and on and on. Second John, you'll find a term in there in the beginning of it that says the elect lady. We don't recognize that elect means that she has a position, so she's been elected to pastor. Lady was her name. So the pastor that John is writing to in Second John is a lady. So yes, it is wise to listen to what the Bible says, right? But that's somebody else's culture. That's somebody else's domain. And you're taking what they say is wise and trying to put it in your domain to be able to fit whatever it is. And it's not just white people or church people or whatever else you want to go, whatever social construct we want to use, right? We're talking about people that say that they believe in what we believe in. Will tell you that. Oh, woman can't preach. Says who? And for all people that will say, well, you're still being murky, and well, maybe didn't have the position of pastor and all that, because pastor means heleth in our culture. First of all, it means assembler. So you're saying that a woman can't assemble people together? Because that's really what a pastor is. We think a pastor is a preacher. A pastor can have the gift of preaching, but no, a pastor is an assembler. You said Elohim didn't make, or well, you're talking about God, not Elohim. So you said God didn't make man. Man made up the idea of God. Well, God is a different culture than Elohim, just like he's a different culture than a nature, just like he's a different culture than a deity or a deist, right? Yeah. So I would agree with you that man made up God. I'm not talking about God. I don't really believe in God. God is a Germanic entity. God is a Germanic version of something. That's not what I'm talking about. We're not even talking about the same thing. You said, what's the word preach in those situations? The word is, yeah. What does the word preach mean? The word preach means to proclaim. Once again, we make the spiritual so mystical that it's no longer practical. So we think that if somebody's not licensed in front of a congregation, they ain't preaching. If you're proclaiming the word of Yah, you're preaching. Salah. Right? See, but we had the culture together. We're in a different place. Right? So when we have the culture together, we start talking about a different place. Hello, Liberty Bell. Thanks for being part of the community. Appreciate you. Right? So we're thinking that preaching has to be, these and thuses, and the Bible declares, and just stand up and touch 3 people and tell them you're anointed, and the Most High is coming for you, and get ready, get ready, get ready. I like TD Jakes, but that's what we think preaching is. We think preaching is, and the Lord said, do you hear what I'm saying? Hallelujah. The Lord said, this day you will be with me in paradise. Hallelujah. If it ain't all right, before he died, before he got up on the cross, he had to make sure that he did. And they'll say, I'm preaching now. And everybody goes, yeah, you preaching that. That's not preaching. That's hooping. And I'm not mad at hooping, but that's not preaching. To preach is to proclaim. So you can proclaim on hooping, but just because you're hooping doesn't mean you're proclaiming. You said you mean in that scripture? Yeah, I would say that that woman was proclaiming the word. Was Deborah proclaiming the word? Was she somebody that proclaimed the word as far as being a judge? She was a judge, so she proclaimed the word. Yeah, the woman at the well when she went and she proclaimed to everybody and talked about it and brought the message of the Messiah, said that she met the Messiah, met a prophet, met somebody more than a prophet. She was proclaiming the word. When the lady that I mentioned earlier, um, when they came to the sepulcher and Yahshua's body was removed, um, were they proclaiming the word? Yes, that's what preaching is. Preaching is proclamation. But you'll hear somebody, right? All they got to do is say, and they'll even say he preaching now, like he was preaching before. Did you miss the rest of the message, or were you just waiting for the hoop? You waiting for the hoop, right? You just waiting for him to hoop. You're not waiting for him to preach. He started preaching already. It's like when I get on here, if I don't, sometimes I'm not led. Like today, haven't really been led to say we're gonna open this verse and this verse and this verse and this verse and this verse, right? But I'm still proclaiming the word. You said the impressions are on point. Yeah, so if anybody who can proclaim, a child can proclaim the word way before they can get licensed or become a rabbi or rabbi. Your child can proclaim the word. They can preach. Is that people are froggy today? Must be the rain. You said Yahshua never died. Okay. Arsalan, do you believe in the Bible? Oh, thank you, Jacob's house. I appreciate that. Right? Do you believe in the Bible? Was it Arsalan? Do you believe in the Bible when you say that Yahshua never died? Because Jesus, you could say in a sense never died because Jesus isn't Yahshua. Okay, well, if you don't believe in the Bible, then of course you would say that. You're coming from a different domain, and that's fine, right? That's fine. You don't have to believe what I'm saying. I don't know why you would listen into what I'm saying, but feel free to stick around if you like. As long as you're respectful, I'll be respectful of you. But this is what we're dealing with. This, like, you're dealing with a place where people are going to try to bring something in the domain. So like if you're bringing something into a domain in which people believe that the Most High died, right, and believe in Yahshua and believe in the universe, right, because universe a spoken sentence, so we believe that somebody had to speak the universe into existence, then you're talking about some people that are in a different realm of thought. Thanks for the love, Jacob's spot. Or sorry, Jacob's house. Excuse me. I saw the word bottle and I was trying to say Jacob's bottle, Jacob's house, right? But you're dealing with people that are trying to bring something that's not of your culture and try to act like it should dictate what your culture says. Like if I go into somebody's culture and they're an atheist, I recognize we're probably not going to be talking too much word. I'm still going to live how I live, right? But I'm not going to come up upside the head. Okay, if I'm going into a job environment, right? In a job environment, they say they want you to be yourself, but they don't want you to go ahead and bring part of who you are. I'm not going to bring the word in unless it's a specific thing that I'm led to do, because that's not the time for it. If it's a time for it, he will tell me it's the time. The Most High will, the Holy Spirit will, she will tell me as well. Dawn said off topic, but are putting last evening on Patreon. Oh yeah, it's on Patreon. Yeah, yesterday evening is on Patreon. You should be able to click on the link. We put it on. You should have been able to watch it live from Patreon if you're a patron. So, but we also have it, on the, on Zoom as well. Prayers linked to universe / one word. If it's one word, we never stop praying. Well, I agree with you on that. Yeah. But once again, we're talking about wisdom, right? The domain in which wise things go. Do you have a domain? Do you have a setup? Do you have a system? Do you have a mindset? Do you have a love? Do you have a heart? Do you have a joy? Do you have a place that allows you to be able to be intimate with that which is wise? All right. Thank you, Mr. Energy One, praying for you and your daughter, Tiffany, I believe, right? Tiffany. So yeah, so we've got to be in this position where we recognize that a lot of things that we're dealing with are not coming from a place, right, that's wise. You didn't get the link, Brother Thomas. I emailed it to you, but I'll make sure that I send it to you via text today. I apologize for that. Well, we have it recorded too. I'll try to send you the recording too. Um, yeah, so you're dealing with a lot of different things that are going on, and we have to be honest. We have to be real about these things. We have to be consider the fact that we're dealing with a lot of people who want to come into your domain and tell you everything that's going on, but don't know the first thing about your domain. They know things they've heard. They know things maybe they've read, but that's why I say all the time, everything starts with culture. Like we were talking about the Americans today. How many people know that the original American the definition of an original American is a copper colored person indigenous to America, right? How many people know that? How many people actually are aware of the fact that an original American, right, is a copper colored person indigenous to America, which means that if you're talking to me about American, if I were to say to the average person walked up to me on the street and said, "Are you an American?" And I said, "Which one?" They would look at me like I'm weird. We do that to people a lot. Like they know something we don't know. Thanks for sharing the live, Empress. Right? They know something we don't know. So, you know, if we're sitting up here and we saying something that we know that they don't know, right? Or I'm sorry, let me say it again. People ask a question, and we know what they don't know. They ask a question, and we say something they don't know, and they immediately go to a place of you're crazy, you don't know what you're talking about, this and that. But if I say that, I'm saying, look, if you're talking about the American today, then I'm a non-citizen national. I'm not a fake citizen of the United States corporation. But if you're talking about the original American, the copper colored person indigenous to America, then yes, I be that. Right? Well, Arsalan, I mean, that's okay. First of all, Arsalan, it's interesting that you would say that you were about the Quran, and then you say that he never died. Um, because well, I don't know if it's the Quran or one of the books that support the Quran that we're supposed to study to make sure that we do this, but and it's weird that Ishmael would be against Isaac because Isaac and Ishmael were brothers, right? So I don't know why there's a thing that we have to cut each other off, but it's interesting that we would not bring proper wisdom by Allah or Alacham, because Allah is short for Alacham. They come from the same root word, from the same place, right? Nevertheless, it would be very interesting. It's very interesting to me that you don't see it as something that like we should actually converse in as brothers. Didn't Muhammad himself deal with that? And didn't we deal with the fact that, hey, when he went up, the Quran says when he went up, now this is something that's weird to me, but that particular structure of belief system says that when Yashra died, he went up and went to Allah, and Allah asked him a question and said, why did you teach the people that you were the same as me? And he said, no, I never taught him that. Now, I don't believe that portion, but that's what it seems like. That's what it says. So it's weird that we would have this thing that says that Yashra never died, but that's not supported by your own belief system. But then again, there's different sects, SECTS, of belief in that. So, but it's very odd to me that would be what we'd be fighting against. But, it's very interesting where people come on and once again don't even know culturally what we're talking about. I guess you're assuming that I'm a Christian, or the assumption is that I don't know what I'm talking about at all, or the assumption is that I don't even know if there's an assumption at this point. It seems like it might just be trolling, or there's something going on. Praying for you. Hopefully everything gets better. So Shadallah says, Shalom, Brother Kofi, you didn't address the scripture. No, you're right. I've been sitting there thinking in my mind, I need to keep going back, and I kind of got, you're right. So we were talking about Isaiah chapter 9, verses 6 and 7 earlier, right? Isaiah chapter 9, verses 6 and 7. Because believe it or not, I wasn't born and raised in the church. I was agnostic for a little bit of my life, and I studied quite a few things, still do, if you can tell, but studied quite a few different things in my life, including the Quran. because I consider becoming the Muslim, or however we would pronounce it wherever we are. Uh, but yeah, so let's go to Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6 and 7 real quick. Thank you for the reminder. Ashadallah, I appreciate it. And hopefully I pronounced your name correctly. And how you doing? Bendinator, thanks for being on with us. Or Bernadator, I can't. Bendinator. All right. So Isaiah 9, 6 and 7. Really, I could say it, without looking at it. We've talked about the scripture multiple times, right? But talking about government, right? Where is the government? What is governing us? Somebody was arguing about government and stuff earlier, right? Well, government. What is governing us? Right? Thanks for being part of the community square biz. Here we go. For unto us, that means unto who? Who is us there? Who is Isaiah speaking to? Those who are Yashvil, or those who are grafted in, those who believe. So this is not for everybody. See, once again, it is wise domain, in our domain unto us. So somebody that isn't part of your domain or trying to even deal with you as far as the kingdom is concerned, they wouldn't accept this anyways. I pronounced it very well. Okay, excellent. Thank you. So this is not for us. I'm here to tell you, I'm sorry. This is for us. It's not for everybody. We keep thinking that the Tanakh or the Torah or the Apocrypha, the 66 books, Jasper, Enoch, etc. We think that this is supposed to be for everybody. Sadak, whatever, right? We think that this is supposed to be for everybody. This is not for everybody, right? This is for specific people who have a specific belief system. And watch this, walk in faith. The justified shall do what? Live by faith, or walk by faith. The word walk and live are interchangeable. So if you're not willing to walk this or live this, then you're not willing to be able to accept the positive consequences of this. Period. This is not for everyone. This is for those who will follow the word of Yah. Deuteronomy 28, before everybody reads verses 1 through 14 or 15 through 68, make sure you peep game verses 1 and 2. If ye, first word, if, second word, ye, that's plural. Anybody listening who's part of this community, who's traveling together, if you would what? Hearken diligently into the voice of Adon, of the Lord, right? To what? To obey, to observe and do. To observe, look at it, and do all the things that are commanded to you this day, then you will be set on high. Then you'll be able to get all these great things, right? But only if. Read Deuteronomy 28, verses 1 and 2. Read your Bible. It'll bless you, right? Read Deuteronomy 28, verses 1 and 2. It'll bless you, right? And look, at all the stuff is always talking about if. We talked about this last night, right? Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. First things first. Forgiveness first. I wish we could say all these other things, but first things first. Forgiveness first. If you will forgive it, right? Forgive them if you can be forgiven. And then we put that with our Sermon on the Mount. Same Yashua speaking, right? Right? Who said that if you want to be forgiven, you must first forgive. If you can forgive, then you can be forgiven. First things first, right? If, thank you, Bounty. Appreciate that. If, only if you do, right? So right away we're having a problem because a lot of people are trying to make this for everybody, but there's we talked about this, what people say there's unconditional love. No, love has conditions on it. He's going to unconditionally put you in heaven. No, heaven has conditions on it, baby boy, baby girl. Like it does. I'm sorry to tell you, but it's not unconditional. There's some conditions that my wife has for me, right? I know some people will be like, she should give you unconditional love. That don't even make sense. So I'm supposed to wild out, do whatever I want, treat her however I want, mistreat her, mistreat children, not take care of bills, do whatever, and she's supposed to just stick around for it. No, there's conditions on love, right? So you got to catch the conditions. This is not for everybody, right? It's for those who follow the conditions. Salah, right? Verse 6, for unto us a child is born, for unto us, those who follow this, those who are Yashua, those who are grafted in, for unto us a child is born. That child was born for us, right? And and unto us a son is given. That son was given to us, right? Okay, check this out. And the government shall be upon his shoulders. He's bringing his government. So you're in a government, but we're not looking for the government you're in, right? That's why you got to be in it, but not of it. You're trying to be of this government, but the government you're supposed to be of is going to be on his shoulders. This child, who is this child? This child is Yashua HaMashiach, Yashua the Messiah. right? The Christ. He's bringing the government. I'm not about so when people are trying to argue with me about this stuff, it's like, look, I get it, I respect it, but you're trying to talk to me about a government that is not my government. What governs me is not your government. That's why your government has laws to protect my rights to be able to obey the laws of my government. Thank you, Empress. You know that, right? Like in the law, there are things that are there to ensure that if somebody in this government tries to make me follow conditions that are not of the Most High, I can actually make sure that I follow the conditions of the Most High. There's laws to protect my rights to do so. That's why I don't have to get a shot if I don't want it. I don't have to get one. Why don't I have to get one? Because there's laws to protect my right to say I don't want it. If you want to get it, go get it. But there's laws to protect my right. Everybody has the right to do whatever. There's consequences that come with it, though. You are allowed to be protected. Your gut, right? You have a government. You have something that governs you. You have the right to have that protected by law. So for unto us a child, this is wisdom. You're using somebody else's wisdom. And once again, we go really deep into wisdom. We got a whole series on YouTube. Go look in the playlist. It's called 12 Pillars of Wisdom. Go look it up for yourself. Let it be a blessing to you and your family. Ask any questions, comments, or concerns that you have in the comment section, right? Right. Even get in contact with us if I'm available. I promise you I'll set aside time that we can speak on whatever you have, right? But you're talking about somebody else's wisdom. You're talking about what governs somebody else. This is not our wisdom. I'm sorry, this is not, your wisdom might not be our wisdom. Your standard is not our standard if you're not within what we're doing, right? So here we go. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful, Full of Wonder, right? Counselor, right? The mighty Elohim, the everlasting Abba, the Prince of Peace. Thank you, Ransom. Right? Verse 7, of the increase of his government. See, that's why when his government, this government is not designed to give you increase, is it? This government is not designed to give you increase. Right? And yeah, exactly. Right? To be a citizen of the nation, you have to know the laws of that country, for sure. Right? But of the increase of his government, I'm not about a government that doesn't that tells me, right? So like watch this. And by the way, I don't mind decreasing that he might increase, but he says in his word that he's going to make sure that he lifts me up. So my decreasing is not to my detriment. In this government, decrease, get yourself out, be willing to die. Look, I've been in the military. I put my life on the line. Be willing to die. Be willing to shoot. Be willing to get shot at. Be willing to take life if necessary. Do all those things. Right? Do all those things so that you can support and defend the Constitution of the United States Corporation, but not make sure you defend yourself. Of the increase of his government and peace, his government comes with peace. His wisdom comes with peace. There shall be no end. Upon the throne of who? Whose throne is it going to be upon? Upon the throne of David, of David, and upon his kingdom, to order it and to establish it with judgment. So we got to have something that we can judge about, but with judgment and with justice. So there's got to be judgment and justice, and people don't want any judgment, right? A lot of times people don't even want any justice. People want to sin and then have no justice, right? But you can't be justified if there's no justice. And to establish it with judgment and with justice from henceforth, even forever, the zeal of Yahweh of hosts will perform this. That's his wisdom. But people don't want his wisdom. People want to do whatever they want and then call it him. Right? They want to do whatever they want and then call it his wisdom. That's not how we work. That's not how we roll. That's not how we've ever rolled. And we're not going to start today. You know what I'm saying? All right. Thank you, gorgeous. Appreciate it. Right. So this is what we're dealing with. Right. We're dealing with people. Who are trying to tell you to come outside of an eternal system and start dealing with things in the temporal. Dealing with people that want you to take the spiritual and make it mystical only, so it's mysterious, but never make it practical for you, right? That is not the government that we partake in. That's not what wisdom is. Wisdom is a domain in which wise things can go inside of. What is the domain that you have set up? Do you have a domain that's set up to be able to allow you to be able to do what's righteous? Do you have a domain that's set up to allow you to do what's righteous? Once again, do you have a domain that's set up to allow you to do what's righteous or to do what's wise? And watch this, your domain has to be set up for things to be questioned of you, right? Especially of the Holy Spirit and of the Most High. Why? Because there's a way that seems wise in your own eyes, but that don't mean it's wise. Right? Here's another verse that we've heard before, but let's go ahead and read this again. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 3. We're going to focus on verse 5 and 6, right? This is the where we usually like to focus on these two verses. Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6. It says, trust in Yahweh with all thine heart, love, passion, with all your passion, and lean not unto thine own understanding. Understanding literally means I'm standing under a principle. I'm not going to move. I'm not going to come from under it, right? So don't be unmovable. Don't be so malleable that you finish the transformation in your being malleable. And now all of a sudden you're so rigid you can't be questioned, right? So trust in Yahweh with all thine passion and lean out into thine own understanding. Don't get to a place to where you're only thinking about mama told me this, daddy told me this, my life experience says. This is why you can't talk to people about things. Well, you know, there's issues with this country. There's no issues with this country. If you want to go somewhere, why don't you go somewhere else? If this country isn't so good to you, why don't you go somewhere else? That has nothing to do with something, but you can't be changed. You can't be talked to. You can't be spoken to. All men are bad. Well, what about this man? What about that man? Well, whatever. You're just part of the patriarchy. This and that. That has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. But you can't. But you won't. You can't. You've decided that you will stand under that, even if it's dead wrong. So trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not to thine own understanding in all thy ways. By the way, we weren't even called Christian or anything. That's something that's new in timeline. We were called followers of the way. Yahshua said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. So in all thy ways, acknowledge him. And what's going to happen? And he shall direct thy paths. Thank you, Vibes. He shall what? He shall direct thy paths. Right? Direction. In order to have wisdom, you got to have direction. Right? I agree with that, Alan. Yeah. So in order to have wisdom, you have to have direction. And somebody that can't be directed is somebody that can't be wise. We talked about this last night. Somebody who wants to be forgiven. Hear what I'm saying? Somebody who wants to hear what I'm saying, Israel. Somebody who wants to be forgiven or does not want to. I'm sorry. Let me say it like this. If somebody cannot admit that they are ever wrong, they cannot be forgiven. Do you hear what I'm saying? If somebody can't admit that they're wrong, if you can't ever say, I'm wrong, my bad, you right, something simple like that. If you can't do that, you cannot be forgiven. Because how can you be forgiven if you always right? Oh, well, thank you. Well, I'm definitely not Elisha. Maybe I can say I had the spirit of Elisha, but I'm definitely not Elisha. I'll take the spirit of Elisha, though. Thank you. I appreciate it. I got to be very careful about that. I'm not going to, that'll get me in trouble if I start doing that. Right. But I thank you. I appreciate it. I know what you mean. But this is, but you got to comprehend, right? Like a lot of people want the Most High to do this stuff for them. But if you can't admit that you're wrong, how do you get forgiveness? And if you can't get forgiveness, right? Like, by the way, how do you forgive others if you're in a place where you think everybody does everything on purpose? That's why he said, Father, forgive them. What? For they know not what they do. There's ignorance. You said you can forgive a baby for not knowing algebra. Well, the baby wouldn't try to tell me that they needed to know algebra. So the baby doesn't even need to be forgiven for not knowing algebra. So why, you hear what I'm saying? Like, to forgive a baby for not knowing algebra, that wouldn't make sense. If a baby was born, they're 2 weeks old, and they're not making algebraic equations, and you're saying, "Well, I forgive you for not knowing algebra," that's there's something wrong with the person, not with the baby. you know. So, but you can't see. So a lot of times we're asking people for forgiveness for stuff, and the Most High is like, "Why are you even asking for forgiveness for that? Why you want that person to forgive for that?" Right? But a lot of people can't be forgiven because they can't admit that they ever had anything wrong with them. Period. And that's a dangerous place to be. You can't be forgiven because you can't admit that you ever did anything wrong. You've never done anything wrong. Every relationship, you never had any bad part to play in that, even in just choosing the person. You can't even admit that. You always did everything, right? You always had to be correct. You always were perfect. You ain't never made. I mean, like I'm telling you, when I know in different cultures, some people don't care about the word sorry. I'm just telling you, you don't live in that culture, right? Let's be honest. Whether you're talking about biblically or whether you're talking about, in the culture most of us are in now, it's okay for people to say, I'm sorry, right? If necessary. And I've been around quite a few people who I cannot remember them ever saying, I'm sorry, right? How do you forgive somebody who's never wrong? Now, once again, we got to let Elohim read the heart. I can't read their heart. So maybe they can't say it outwardly, right? Maybe it's difficult for them, right? But you got to recognize, right? You got to recognize that this is what's going to be happening. This is what we're dealing with now. And people are trying to give you things that they deem to be wise. If you have a gift of wisdom, understand the domain comes first. The domain comes first. If your domain's not right, you cannot be wise. Right? The domain comes first. If we get the domain correct, then the wise part is easier to make sure that we're there. By the way, those who are taking classes during this last period of time, we're probably just going to have to do a recording. We'll probably still try to do something special in a couple weeks, maybe, for those who are part of, especially the Hebrew characters class or the basic Hebrew class, because we still need to come together and make sure we speak together one more time. So please study your words. We'll try to do something special for you guys so we can make sure that we can have some conversation and go over these words again. But yeah, we because of the Passover season, we're not going to be able to do any. Well, I don't know. Maybe we can still do 9 o'clock on next Tuesday or something. It might. Well, no, it might be difficult because Tuesday, I think that's when Minister Select Sonia becomes Minister Sonia, so we probably won't be able to do it there. We'll figure it out. We'll probably have to do something special, come together again. But thank you guys for being on. We appreciate you. We'll get ready to take our leave. If you'd like to be able to join us for our service on the podcast, it'll be on the podcast only. You have to have the Podbean app if you want to join us live. If not, you can always just look up the podcast later on. But if you have the Podbean app, you go in there, look up the Kofi Ofori podcast. We do a Shabbat Shalom service every Saturday, every Shabbat at or at least what we deem Shabbat through the system now. But every Shabbat at 10 a.m. Eastern or New York time. So if you'd like to be able to join up with us and join, feel free to. If you're on the podcast, if you're on YouTube, you can easily look up ways to be able to get in contact with us about different things. Remember, we're in the midst right now. We're not doing any evening. We're not going to be coming on live again on the evenings until the 18th. So we won't be on live on any evenings. Normally we're on 8 a.m. Eastern New York time, and then Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays we're on at 8 p.m. Eastern New York time. We would not be back on the evening live again until the 9th or the 18th of this month, due to all the stuff going on with Passover season. If you'd like to join us at 8 p.m. Eastern New York time, though, every day, every night, you can feel free to do so on Zoom. Just get with us, get the Zoom link. And if for whatever reason you didn't have it, we'll make sure that we send it out to you. Again, check your emails if you don't have it in your emails, or text strains, or your messenger strains, or whatever it is that we have for you. Feel free to make sure that you reach out to us before tonight. Hopefully you can do so before 7:30 p.m. Eastern New York time. We look forward to my wife, the Honorable Maya, coming and giving us a word today. And then after that, it'll be Minister Kevin. And then after that, it'll be Minister Tamara. And then after that, it'll be Minister Select Sonia, who'll become Minister Sonia at night. And then after that will be Minister Anais. And then I will come back on the seventh word. And then next Friday, we will get into Passover. So we're excited about that. Those who are going to join up with us on April 16th, feel free to do so. Also, if you want to get there a little early and do Passover with us in the South Carolina area, we'll be doing that April 15th. So we look forward to meeting a lot of you and having a great time. Prayerfully seeing some babies come along too. We've heard that there's going to be some children possibly coming. So we're excited about that. I know Solomon will be excited about that as well. But we are very excited and thankful and grateful to each and every one of you for spending some time with us. And we're very appreciative of you doing so. So we'll be back on tonight on Zoom, 8:00 p.m. Eastern New York time, for the second word. We're thankful and grateful. I'm going to try and reach out to a couple of you. We have a few people going through quite a few things, and we're trying our best to make sure that we are serving as best as possible. Thank you for the ministerial staff for reaching out to people, of course. We're appreciative of that. Thank you to everybody. We give all praise and honor to the Most High. Please study this word to make sure that you become not only a hearer of it, you can execute it as a doer as well. And what is it I was looking for? I apologize. I was looking for, there's something that is going past. Well, anyway, I'm sorry. Hopefully we'll see you on the Shabbat Shalom podcast. You have to have the Podbean app. The Podbean app is called the Kofi Ofori podcast. If you're on YouTube, if you're on the podcast, if you want to find places to be able to find us, or spend more time with us, or ask questions, or take classes, whatever the case might be, or even do a survey, all types of things. Please make sure that you are. Please make sure you take time out to do so. And just look in the description box if you're on TikTok. That's what I'm looking for. If you're on TikTok, just go on TikTok and look up on our main page, Kofi_43. And all you have to do is go on there on the main page and look up for a little more information for us in the bio. Outside of that, just go to where it says website and click on our link tree. So go to where it says website, click on our link tree. And once you do that, you'll be able to find a whole bunch of places that you can see where we're at and what we're doing, how we're moving, and how we're executing. So thank you so much. We appreciate you all. If you want to be part of things like that, includes like Yah's Land Project 83, and that's trying to make sure we get this land together. If it's for ministerial training, some of you are going through right now. If it's just to be part of a community that shows love and honor to each other, and you want to be part of building something where we can continue to meet up in your area. If you want to just do kind of the same thing that we do every day. If you want to be somebody that helps us in making sure people get food and clothes. If you want to help us in growing food, all that stuff is on the table. And we thank you in advance for helping us to be able to do those things. Once again, please check out my wife, the Honorable Maya. You can find her on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. And we're appreciative of that. Thank you so much for doing so. She's a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. She has many different tinctures that she sells. The tincture that is, the display tincture, if you will, for this month is I Am Fasting. It's a fasting aid, and it also helps you if you're going through fasting to be able to get through some things. But she has many different tinctures that she's able to provide through her business. And if you'd like to be able to support that business, we thank you in advance. That's all that I have for today. Please check out the Honorable Mind when she comes out and gives us a word later on today. We're thankful. We're appreciative. We're grateful. We honor you. We're excited. And we're excited what the Most High is doing in this season. Don't forget, continue to take the leaven out of your home. Passover is right around the corner. Friday will be upon us before you know it. Treat Friday like Shabbat. And other than that, love on one another, appreciate one another, give each other, all types of respect and love. And we admire you. We love you from afar, and we love you up close. We appreciate you. And thank you for all your prayers, your comments, your concerns. And we look forward to talking to you guys again very soon. So until the next time I have a chance to be before you all again, As always, has been Pastor Kofi, Pastor of Servant to Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. And please remember yesterday, and those that are grafted in, and those that will soon be grafted in, or soon recognize who you are, that you are loved, you are necessary, you are majestic, you're fearfully and wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shabbat shalom. See you guys soon on the podcast. Thank you so much. Peace.
I'm balanced, uneven, yo. I'm balanced, saying, get your life on track. If no one loves you, God will take you back. He's got your back, so stay on track. It's not a race or a place to see who's better or who's greater. We equally made from the hand that's great. God, forgive us for having uneven yoke. Uneven yoke, uneven yoke, uneven yoke, uneven yoke. Lukewarm high, uneven yoke, ice cold, uneven yoke, high, low, uneven yoke, worldly serve, uneven yoke, uneven yoke. Uneven yoke. We were raised to go to school, be brainwashed, keep it cool.